The 6th of November, Rabbi Furst, Pierke Avos.
Okay, good morning. As Lou said, this is Rabbi Shlomo Furst here, Yeshiva Samanafti, here in Yerushalayim, care of Zoom. We're learning Pierke Avos, the 5th parak. I believe it's the 7th Mishnah. Asar Nisim Sha'asa Kadosh Baruch Hu Lavosenu Be'Beis HaMikdash. Right, we've learned a few already, but let's see. Since Lou is back with us, maybe let's just do a quick kazor of the Mishnah. Yeah, who would like to do a little bit reading for us this morning?
Where are we?
We're in Pierke Avos, parak A, 5th parak. 5th parak of Pierke Avos.
I gotta go get it.
Okay. How was everyone's Shabbos?
Very nice, thank you.
Right, five, what Mishnah?
It's Zion is my edition, parak Zion.
Zion. 7. Ten miracles?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, I got it.
Okay. Yeah. Would you like to
I could read it.
read a bit, Lou?
Yeah.
Getting back from vacation?
Yeah, let me get.
Okay. All right.
By the way, thank you for the links. I looked at them, but they didn't look like they were relevant.
I saw them, so I thought they were sort of relevant, but not.
Yeah, they're not directly related to the questions. I tried to look a little bit for some more specific information. I didn't find that was as close as I got in the time that I had available.
Right.
But, so we'll see how things go. But that's a slight beginning. Let's put it that way.
It was interesting to read about the hair, the issue of the hair. It wasn't
Yeah.
relevant to my question, but it was still interesting.
All right. Okay. Well, maybe we'll have a chance to explore the whole issue in depth at one point or another. We'll see what we can do.
Okay. Asara nisim naasu la'avosenu beves hamikdash. 10 miracles were done for our fathers in the temple. Lo hipidla isha mereach basar hakodesh. Velo his riach basar hakodesh me'olam. Velo nir'ah zevuv beves ha-mit b'chaim. Let me, this is getting very long. Let me translate a little bit. No woman miscarried from the smell of the meat, of the holy meat, of the sacrificial meat. So that's number one. Number two is no sacrificial meat became rotten. Number three is no fly was seen in the slaughterhouse. Okay. Low,
Really, that was meaning that was in the area where they would do the slaughtering of the sacrifices. That was basically in the northern part of the north part of the Mizbeach. Right, the Mizbeach was the ramp of the Mizbeach was situated in the south. Right, that was the foot of the ramp going up to the Mizbeach, and then the Kohen would walk to the north direction up to the top of the Mizbeach, and on the north side, not on the Mizbeach, but in the Azara, in the courtyard, to the north side of the Mizbeach was where they had a series of tables and other apparatus to assist in the slaughter of the sacrificial meats. So in that area, there was never a fly seen. I'm just interested. I was just wondering, does that mean that there were flies in other parts of the base of Mikdash, but not in that space specifically? I'm not sure. It sort of leaves it open to understanding that there were flies in the rest of the base of Mikdash, but not specifically in that spot. But that also would not be so nice if there were flies there, you know?
yeah. But you know, when I've been in the slaughterhouse, the flies are very annoying. I mean, they're all over the place. And
Yeah,
they,
when you go up to shecht your little sheep there.
right, yeah,
I mean, there are a lot of flies around, huh?
a lot, yeah. And they're landing on the meat, and you know, it's not nice. It's
Yeah, well, that's their parnasa, you know, that's where they get their food.
that's true.
You can't blame them for wanting to make a parnasa. But you're right. I mean,
That's a huge miracle.
yeah, and not only that, there's an aspect of this miracle that we discussed a little bit previous, that the miracle was that it was over hundreds of years, meaning the base of Mikdash was the first base of Mikdash. And most of these miracles, as I said earlier, most of these miracles were taking place exclusively in the first base of Mikdash, not in the second. The basic differences between the first base of Mikdash and the second one, and one of them was that these miracles didn't exist in the second base of Mikdash. So it was for more than 400 years this was going on, and yeah, you have to appreciate the depth of what we're being taught here, because as I mentioned, it's even with, let's say, today's technology of digital cameras and sensory apparatus, you would have to have an apparatus would be able to sense and track the presence of flies for over 400 years. So to make such a statement like this, right? So so Chazal is stepping in with the Ruach HaKodesh, right, with the divine inspiration, and it could even be maybe which is part of it's similar to prophecy, and saying this is sort of like a prophetic statement here, because otherwise you'd never have evidence for such a thing like this.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because if we look at the wording, it says was seen.
Right.
That's not the same as saying there was no fly.
Right.
Saying that nobody ever saw one.
Right. Yeah, but like you said, they're pretty annoying. If they're around, they'll probably make themselves known.
Yeah, absolutely. They're not only are they on the meat, but they're in your face.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
land on your nose.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Constantly going like this the whole time you're in there.
Well, okay, just a slice of life that we're not used to.
Right.
Huh?
Okay.
Okay,
Below
let's continue on.
let's see, below, let's see, where am I? Below A Ra, Keri, le Kohen, Gadol, Biyom HaKippurim. There was not nocturnal emission, I guess, occurring to the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur.
Right. So we spent some time discussing this also, that what was the Meforshim tried to explain and give it a little more elaboration to understand the depth of the miracle that was taking place here, because you'd say, well, what's the big deal? I mean, if you know anything about the serious precautions that were made with the Kohen Gadol 7 days previous to him entering into the Kodesh Kodashim on Yom Kippur, so he was isolated and he wasn't allowed to sleep. He was eating special foods. There was quite a lot of hishtadlus, quite a lot of effort which was being spent to keep the Kohen as pure as possible. Right. So you say, well, if all that hishtadlus is being done, I mean, they're putting forth such great efforts. I mean, it doesn't seem that it's such a great miracle if their efforts paid off. Right.
Right.
So the commentaries explain that it was specifically because of all the efforts they were putting in. That's why it was a greater miracle, because there's a certain rule in spiritual physics. That's called the physics of the spiritual worlds, and the physics of Ruchnius. So there's a special rule that as the level of Tahora, purity, increases, so there's a greater increase of the Yetzer Hara and the Koach of Tuma in relationship to it. So as the Kohen was day by day getting holier and holier and more sanctified, doing the vote on Yom Kippur, so likewise the Yetzer Hara was growing and becoming greater and greater to prevent this or to challenge it. So therefore, there was quite a lot of resistance that was there at the time of the Kohen Gadol finally coming to Yom Kippur. So it was quite a miracle. After all that Ishtadus created such a complementing spirit of Tuma, that this wasn't allowed to happen, that this did not happen, was indeed quite a miracle.
I'm a little bit confused by that. This Ara Keri,
Right.
it translates that as a nocturnal emission
Right.
or nocturnal pollution, it says. Isn't that involuntary?
Actually not. The Gemara, the Mishnayos and the Gemara go into details about this, that it can be caused with the eating of certain foods, having certain thoughts which are conducive to bringing this thing about, and over exercise and various different other things. There are about 7 or 8 different criteria which could bring this about, and it's not simply involuntary. I mean, the actual occurrence may be involuntary, but it may be the catalyst for it may be brought about by voluntary behaviors.
I see. Okay.
And he was, and that was the point. He was being protected in all these different ways, in as many ways as possible. He's being protected from getting involved with any of these things which could inadvertently bring this about. But nevertheless, because of that, because there was such great efforts spent to protect the Kohen Gadol, so therefore that we would expect that there would be the balance, because there needs to be this balance between the efforts being kadosh b'tor, pure and holy, and the those efforts will, because of their efforts, they're going to bring about a counterbalance force of tuma to try and challenge the attempt.
Right. Velo chibu hage shamim esh shel atzei ha ma'aracha. And the rains did not put out the fire of the wood on the altar. It says under the open sky. I'm not sure where that's coming in.
Right. That needs to be added in, because if it was not out in the open, it wouldn't be considered to be such a miracle. So the fact that year by year, decade by decade, century by century, the exposed fire, and it's the fire itself and the pillar of smoke rising from it, even though they were exposed to the elements never had any control over it.
Right. That is pretty amazing. You'd think that you'd have at least one rainstorm that would do that.
Right. Correct.
Lo nitzcha cha ruach as es amud ha ashan. And there was never a wind that blew the column of smoke.
Right. Also, there was no wind that actually interfered with the smoke, pillar of smoke coming from the Mizbeach.
Now, does that mean that there was wind, but the smoke was not affected by it, or there was no wind at all?
Good question. I don't know. It's mashma from the way it's written, is that there was wind, there was rain, right?
Right.
But it was never successful to interfere with it, right? There was rain, there was wind, but they were never successful in interfering with the rain.
Below nimtza pasul baomer uvishte ha lechem uv lechem hapani omdim tefufim umish tachavim revachim. So there was never found something that was invalid in the Omer, or the two breads, or the showbreads that stood and prostrated
This is something new, I think.
Pardon?
Yeah, this is something new, I think, right?
Yeah,
Had the breads in the Omer, you had the breads in the Omer.
the breads and the omer and the lechem panim
Like a panim, right?
that.
Okay.
Oh, I skipped a line. But what is this? Mish tachavim rivachim. Mish tachavim is to.
That's to bow down, right? That's a new sect. That's a new miracle that they were there. I think you did skip a line. Check and see if should be that they were omdim tzfufim. They were omdim. They were standing crowdedly, and they were bowed with ample room.
Oh, there's no low. Okay, so that's what threw me off. There's no low. So okay, so there was never found in the omer or the two loaves or the showbread that disqualified them. They were never disqualified. That's number 7.
That's right. That's the one winner, right? Those things, those three types of the omer, the shtei lechem, and then the lechem panim. There was never a pasul in any one of those three groups of korbanos, breads, the bread offerings.
Now, what would puzzle them?
Oh, it's a good question. You have to learn the. It could be something with the ingredients was made improperly. Perhaps there was some type of there was a tumor that got in there involved somehow. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay.
But nevertheless, it always was pure, always was sanctified and remained that way.
Right. And the omer was the same omer there for the whole 400 years, right?
Again, with you, it was the same.
There was one omer that Moshe Rabbeinu had put in the Aron, I think.
No, that's the man. The man. You think about the man. The man was put in the.
The omer is the barley.
Yeah, the omer is that's when we count spirits to omer. That's in Chodesh. The bringing of the omer is a something which permits the eating of grains from the previous year.
Right. Okay, I got you. Omdim tifufim umish tachavim rivachim. Okay, so the people stood and they pressed together. And they were able to prostrate amid ample room.
Right.
They were crowded together, but when they prostrated, they were able to prostrate even though they should have needed more room.
Right. And as we saw, the Gemara explains this. The Gemara explains that this was in order that when they were, what they were doing, they were saying vidui confession. When they would be bowing down, they would be confessing. So the Kadosh Baruch Hu made it that there should be ample room for everybody, that nobody else would hear the confessions of the fellow next to him.
Oh, okay. Wow. Velo chizik nachash ve'akrav b'Yerushalayim me'olam. And there was no snake or scorpion to damage, to injure one in Jerusalem. Oh, now we're in all of Jerusalem.
And so that's a point that the commentaries made. It started with the Beis Hamikdash and it extended to Shalim. This point was extended to Shalim, correct?
Right. So that's pretty amazing. For 400 years, no snake or scorpion injured anybody
Apparently, yeah.
in the whole city. Wow. Okay, Lo Amar Adam Lecha Vero Tar Li Hamakom She'alin B'Yerushalayim. Okay, so no one said no man said to his friend, it's difficult for me. This place.
Okay, to find a place to lodge in Jerusalem.
To lodge in Jerusalem. Sha'alin is to lodge.
Right, exactly. Lodge overnight.
Oh, so no man ever said to his friend, I can't find a place to stay.
Right.
Jerusalem.
Right.
Even when all the thousands of people were coming for the regalim.
Right, even during the regular, when thousands, even in fact millions would be coming to Yerushalayim. So there was always place. And here, so these last 2 points are made about Yerushalayim. That pretty amazing that no one was ever damaged, and no one had no difficulty in finding place to rest in Yerushalayim. So.
Weren't people forced to sleep outside and to sleep in tents and things like that?
I'm not sure. Don't know. As we review this, we can try and find out. Maybe some of the commentaries go into some details about it. We could try and explain it a little bit more in detail, which we will. That the commentaries go into some detail about each one of these miracles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now I have lots of commentary, but it's all in English. I don't have any more Hebrew.
Which sefer are you reading from?
I'm reading from Ethics from Sinai.
Okay.
Irving Bunham. It's not really a sefer, strictly speaking. He was not a rabbi. He was just a scholar. He was from, but
Yeah. If anything catches your interest, you could share it with us. That's okay.
Okay. I probably have another one somewhere, but I couldn't find it right offhand.
Yeah.
I
think you got one for your birthday a few years ago, or maybe the Alshik. I forgot exactly which one.
Yeah, I have it. I just don't know exactly where it is right now.
Okay, very good.
Things in my house right now are pretty messy because we just got back from our trip and we haven't really unpacked yet. So we're working on getting things organized.
Okay. Very good. So, right. Okay. So, the fact that there are 10. So the Maharal of Prague explains it. If you notice that at the very beginning of this parak begins with the 10 mamaras, or 10 statements Kadosh Baruch Hu used to create the create existence, and there's a series of 10 generations from Adam Rishon to Noah, 10 generations from Adam to Abraham, 10 tests of Abraham. There were 10 miracles Hashem made for us in Mitzrayim. There were 10 miracles He made for us on the Yam. There were 10 Makos and the Egyptians, and so these series of 10s are significant. That 10 is a number which represents completion and a full cycle, and in fact, all these things were in 10s, especially the Maharal in his explanation goes into detail about the significance of the 10. So that's something to bear in mind. And very good. The three, they're also broken there. If you look at them, they're also broken down into categories in a loose way, sort of. In the first three, there's a series of the first three. The first that there was never a miscarriage, and there was no flies, and then the other one was that the miscarriage, flies,
The meat
and
didn't go bad.
meat didn't go bad. That miracle was revolving around the sacrificial meat, the korban, the meat of the korban, right? That whether it had an effect on others, meaning the woman to miscarry or not, and whether it was involved with its own decay, all which things which under normal circumstances, and the flies being seen there or not, all under which normal circumstances these things should have occurred in one way and the other to a greater or lesser degree. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu suspended the natural way of things happening, because in fact that since this was being done, these were korbanos, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu withdrew his presence from the higher levels and brought it down closer to earth, especially in the Beis Hamikdash. It was a focus of the Shekhinah, right? There was more focused Shekhinah here than other places. So these were ramifications which resulted in the fact that the Shekhinah was present. And that's really the basic cause of all these miracles. As the commentaries explained, that these miracles are indication of how much HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves us. The fact that He would not allow meat to spoil or even flies to defile the meat shows His great love for the Am Yisrael. That with the doing of these miracles, each one shows how HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves Klal Yisrael in very many different ways, and also obligates us. If that's the whole basis of the Sefer Chavos Levavos, the more miracles, the more benefits HaKadosh Baruch Hu bestows upon a person, the more he's obligated to serve him. So therefore, Klal Yisrael on the highest level, because we've received the most benefits from Klal Yisrael, from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we Klal Yisrael are the most obligated people to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's one of the reasons why we have specifically 316 mitzvahs, whereas the non-Jews only have 7 mitzvahs. Because in light of the fact that we've received more benefit from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we have also correspondingly a greater obligation to serve him in many different ways. Okay, very good. We'll go over this again a little bit more tomorrow, some more in depth. And we'll take a short break now for the next year in Halacha. Okay. So,
Okay, thank you, Rabbi.
okay, very good. Thank you. Very good reading, Lou. Thank you. And hope to see you in a few minutes.
Hello.
Roy, you should have a good afternoon.